Have you ever woken up from a dream so vivid it felt real? So real that you could still feel it lingering long after you opened your eyes? This is the story of Jacob, a boy whose dream blurred the line between fantasy and reality. Jacob woke up like any other day. The sunlight streamed through his window, his room filled with posters of stars and rockets. He loved space, but this morning, something felt strange. As his mom called from downstairs, he barely answered, lost in thought. He grabbed his backpack and left for school, not knowing this would be the last ordinary morning of his life. School was uneventful. Jacob stared out the window, daydreaming of far-off galaxies. But then, it happened. A deafening explosion shook the ground. Windows shattered, screams filled the air, and then, silence. When Jacob opened his eyes, the world he knew was gone. Smoke and rubble replaced classrooms and laughter. He stumbled through the wreckage, calling for his mother, but there was no response. No one. Just emptiness. As he searched the ruins, he found a flyer, half buried in the ash. It spoke of a lunar base, a sanctuary on the moon. It sounded impossible, absurd even. But for Jacob, it was a glimmer of hope. Jacob's love for machines had always been a hobby. He found himself at an abandoned space center. Dusty panels, blinking lights, and an old shuttle sat waiting, as if it had been left there for him. He worked tirelessly, deciphering controls, bypassing systems, and then the shuttle roared to life. The Earth shrank behind him as he ascended into the void, utterly alone but filled with purpose. The moon was silent, barren. Endless gray stretched in every direction. Jacob landed and built a small shelter, rationing the supplies he'd brought. Days turned into weeks. He stared at the Earth from his makeshift home, whispering his mother's name into the void. He left messages in the lunar dust, hoping someone, somewhere might see them. But deep down, he feared he'd never see another soul again. Desperate to find answers, Jacob ventured further across the moon. One misstep sent him tumbling into a deep crater. He lay there, staring up at the stars. His body ached, but strangely, his heart felt at peace. He had tried, and that was enough. Slowly, his eyes closed and darkness consumed him. But then, Jacob opened his eyes. He was back in his bed, sweaty, gasping for air. His posters, his books, his room, everything was as it was. It had been a dream, or had it? He ran downstairs, tears streaming down his face, and hugged his mother tightly. She laughed, confused. "Jacob, what's gotten into you?" But he didn't care. She was here. She was real, and that was all that mattered. As they sat at the breakfast table, Jacob felt a strange sense of déjà vu, and then the rumble began. That familiar, deafening sound. His eyes widened as the ground shook, and in an instant, everything went black. Dreams and reality. Sometimes they're closer than we think. What would you do if you couldn't tell the difference?